Very good evening, and you're watching Primetime News on TV1. Bring you the news tonight. I am Shalini Ratnavira. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Who is responsible for Sri Lanka cricket's continuous defeats? Fans demand accountability after humiliating losses. Easter attack investigations on the right track, says Catholic Church, with a warning not to politicize arrests.
විගිය මාස 16ක පමණ කාලයක් පුරාම මේ සියලි විමර්ශන පිළිවෙලකට බොහොම ස්වාධීනව සිදුවෙන බව අපි දන්නවා.
Underworld leader Politicization to be repatriated to Sri Lanka from India tomorrow.
වත්මන් රජය විදේශයට අතපොවලා විදේශයේ ඉන්න අපරාධකරුවන් මෙරටට රැගෙන ඒමට සමත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Where does the SLFP's power stand? Dewinder Dissanayake elaborates. Fundamental rights petitions against emergency regulations during Ditwa disaster dismissed by Supreme Court. Laugh's gas distribution resumes on Monday. 4 more ships expected next month.
What happened to the Sri Lankan cricket team? What is happening to cricket in Sri Lanka? These are two of the questions that everyone keeps asking. Sri Lanka failed to secure a spot in the semi-final at any World Cricket tournament held in the recent past. To bring you this special report on cricket, we now cross over to Newsfirst Charlene Benedict.
This is a report on cricket, but we are not going to start with the results of a cricket match. You know the results. You saw the results of the matches that were played between Sri Lanka and New Zealand, Sri Lanka and England, and even Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe. You know that. This is a report on who is responsible for the state of cricket in this country. Where does the buck stop? Wins and losses are a part of the game of cricket, and we know that, we understand that. But all teams play to win. This is where the issue lies. When we watched these games that Sri Lanka played in the tournament, many of us wondered if Sri Lanka was truly playing these games to win. If we look at the history of cricket in Sri Lanka, this sport of cricket took the Sri Lankan brand to the world. Even today, people know Sri Lanka because of cricket. Very recently, Zoran Mamdani, all the way from the United States, referred to Murali, one of Sri Lanka's great cricketers, when speaking about Sri Lankans. The entire country wants to know who is responsible for destroying this brand of cricket that Sri Lanka is known for across the globe. Let's not speak about the talent and performances of Sri Lankan cricket players. We cannot allow for this brand of cricket in Sri Lanka to take a nosedive in front of the world. This is our cricket. Sri Lanka cricket is not a business for businessmen to make money out of, but right now, the people who are running Sri Lanka cricket, the people at the top brass, should ask themselves, is cricket a brand, or is it just a business for them? We have on countless occasions reported on the fraud and corruption committed by those who run Sri Lanka cricket. We reported on those incidents with hard evidence. These facts were even proved at the COPE committee. Those who sit at the top seats at Sri Lanka cricket, including the chairman, even influenced the passage of legislation that governs the sport of cricket. And that is how they have been playing with the sport of cricket in Sri Lanka. We continue to report on these incidents of fraud and corruption, but then we thought about the players. We considered the fact that these incidents of fraud and corruption, this instability, could affect the mindset of the players. And that is why we held back and we waited. But we cannot hold back any longer. The people of Sri Lanka will not allow us to hold back any longer. When we look back at cricket in Sri Lanka, the only success that came to the office bearers of Sri Lanka cricket. Cricket in Sri Lanka failed. Cricket in Sri Lanka is very important to all Sri Lankans, be it Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, Burghers and all other communities. They unite as one when they cheer for Sri Lanka cricket. The entire country is asking, why is no one doing anything while cricket in Sri Lanka is falling to new lows right now, right before our very eyes? The mechanism in place for cricket at schools in Sri Lanka is failing. The first tier of Sri Lanka cricket is failing. Sri Lanka cricket has become a cesspool of corruption. Sri Lanka cricket is a business for the office bearers of SLC. Those who run Sri Lanka cricket do not want cricket in Sri Lanka to succeed. They don't care if Sri Lanka wins. They want to make more money. They want their business to flourish. We are not afraid to say these things because these facts are backed up with ample evidence. We're also ready to reveal to the general public what these office bearers have done just for the sake of protecting their seats at the top of SLC. What they have done to protect their businesses. All communities in Sri Lanka, be it Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim or Burgher, are crying while looking at the state of cricket in Sri Lanka. Moreover, they are angry. They are asking, why did this happen to our country and why didn't anyone do anything about it? There are many people who have shed their blood, sweat and tears in silence. Everyone in this country knows the service rendered by the former chairman of CMG, Mr. R. Raja Mahendran, to the development of cricket in Sri Lanka all the way back from the 1980s, when the sport wasn't as popular as it is right now in the country, up until right now. In respect of his service and the service of thousands and countless other people who truly worked for the development of cricket in Sri Lanka, we have a right to speak about this. There is nowhere further for Sri Lanka cricket to fall. Therefore, it is imperative that the decisions necessary to resurrect cricket in Sri Lanka are taken now. There is no point of closing the stable after the horse has bolted. Take the decisions that are needed to resurrect Sri Lanka cricket now. The government has given an assurance to the people of Sri Lanka. The people of Sri Lanka has given the government a mandate. Stay true to that faith placed in you by the people of Sri Lanka and take the hard decisions that are necessary to resurrect cricket in Sri Lanka now. If the government takes the right decision, the people of Sri Lanka will stand with you. And there is no power greater than the power of the people in Sri Lanka. This is what the people had to say about the state of cricket in Sri Lanka.
දිනන්න පුළුවන් මැච් දෙකම තමයි පෙරදෙන. ඉතින් එක මැච් එකකින් පාඩම ඉගෙන අනිත් මැච් එකකින් පාඩම ඉගෙන ගත්තේ නෑ අපි. පාලක මණ්ඩලය සම්පූර්ණ වෙනස් වෙ යුතුයි.
අදහසින් කියන්න තියෙන්නේ මේ පාලක මණ්ඩලය ඉන්නකන් ලංකාවේ ක්‍රිකට් හදන්න බෑ. එච්චරයි කියන්න තියෙන්නේ. ක්‍රීඩකයෝ රක්සයි පාලකයෝ දුර්වලයි.
ලංකාවේ ඉතින් ක්‍රිකට් ගොඩ යන පාටක් නම් පේන්නේ නෑ. ක්‍රිකට් ලංකාවේ ගොඩ එන එක නම් සෑහෙන අමාරුයි. මේ පාලක මණ්ඩලය නම් සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අයින් කළම දාන්න ඕනේ.
අපේ පිච් එක අපි ඕන තරම් සෙල්ලමක් දාන්න තිබුණානේ. දුකයි තී අපි එළිය වෙනකම් බලන්න හිටියා. වැඩක් නෑ ඉතින් පිච් එක කියන්නේ.
ක්‍රීඩාව කියන මිනිසුන්ගේ මනස හොඳ ලස්සන ජීවිතයක් කරගෙන යන්න තියෙන එකම ක්‍රීඩාව. ගෙට ගනනලා ගත්තා වගේ වැඩක් නෙමෙයි කරගත්තේ.
ක්‍රිකට් සම්බන්ධව නම් කියන්න තියෙන අති සෝචනීය තත්ත්වයකට අද ප්‍රේක්ෂකෝ මුහුණ දීලා තියෙනවා. ක්‍රීඩකයෝ කෙසේ වෙතත් පාලක මණ්ඩලය කෙසේ වෙතත් නරඹන්න පුදුම විදිහට දුක් වෙනවා.
මුදල තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ ප්‍රදාන කරගෙන තින්නේ. දැන්වත් මේක නවත්තන්න ඕනේ. ක්‍රිකට් බෝඩ් එක මේ කරන වැඩේ ක්‍රිකට් එපාම වෙනවා. ක්‍රිකට් බෝඩ් එකක් නෙමෙයි කාඩ් බෝඩ් ටිකක් තමයි ක්‍රිකට් මේ පාලක මණ්ඩලයේ ඉන්නේ. බුකීකාරෝ ටික පාලක මණ්ඩලයට දාලා මේට වැඩි දෙයක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න බෑ.
පාලක මණ්ඩලය තමයි මේකේ මුල්ම වැරදි කරුවෝ.
හොඳ මේ කණ්ඩායමක් දාන්න ඕන. හොඳ මේ ක්‍රීඩා කමිටුවේ සභාපති කෙනෙක් පත් කරන්න ඕන. එහෙම තමයි හරියන්නේ මේ ක්‍රීඩාවට. අත්‍යවශ්‍යම.
ආපෝ ලංකාවේ ක්‍රිකට් ගැන නම් කතා කරලා වැඩක් නැහැ. ලංකාවේ ක්‍රිකට් කන්නේ ක්‍රිකට් පාලක මණ්ඩලය.
ක්‍රිකට් උත් ඔයින අපිට මොනවත් ඔයින මේ ඉන්න දුප්පත් මිනිහා සල්ලි දීලා නෝ බලන්න යන නිකන් නෙවෙයිනේ. ඒ මිනිහත් අන්තිම අමාරුවේ. ගෙවලා තියෙන රත්තරන් බඩු තියලා මේ ඊයේ පෙරද ගියා මේ බලන්න මේ කරාමතේ තියලා ගෑණිගේ. ඒකත් අන්තිමට ඉවරයි.
If the office bearers at Sri Lanka Cricket think that they can hide the fact that they are doing business and playing with cricket from the people of Sri Lanka, they are mistaken. That is not possible. The people of Sri Lanka are asking for the cricket that they love to be brought back to Sri Lanka. The people are asking who is responsible for the fall of cricket in Sri Lanka during the past decades. For those who ask, has cricket in Sri Lanka really fallen? This will clear all doubt.
Looking at the history of all the time that Sri Lanka hosted a World Cup cricket tournament, this also goes down in history as the first time where they failed to reach the semi-final stage. Reflecting on this decade, the Sri Lankan team entered the 2023 World Cup only after participating in a qualifying tournament. Another notable fact is that it was after 16 years that the women's cricket team qualified directly for last year's World Cup. From 2008 to 2024, the Sri Lankan team was forced to participate in qualifying tournaments. It goes without saying that all of this reflects the ongoing collapse within the sport of cricket. For over a decade, the Sri Lankan team has failed to qualify for the semi-finals of any cricket tournament organized by the International Cricket Council, including the World Cup. Who is responsible for this massive defeat? Is it the players? Or is it the administrators? Is it the players or is it the administrators?
Profitability කෙනකට වග කියන්න ඕනේ දෙන කම්පැනි එකේ CEO කෙනෙක්.
A CEO of a company is responsible for its profitability. Similarly, the CEO of Sri Lanka Cricket must be responsible for the direction of our cricket. I believe he has been there for about 15, 16 or 18 years. Therefore, he should be the ultimate person held accountable. Looking at our cricket, nothing significant has improved. If the same person remains in charge, it's like a batsman ignoring a ball aimed straight at the stumps. Even if it hits the pads, he doesn't seem to get out. There is a major flaw there. There is no performance. If his strategy and thinking were correct, we wouldn't be seeing these poor results. Perhaps he is just a puppet who dances to the tune of whichever administration comes into power. Do we need someone who just pleases everyone by installing lights or labs? Or do we need someone to actually develop the game? We need results, and we aren't seeing them. Let's try bringing in a foreign CEO and see how things run. I think that's the best move. This idea came up before too. Compared to the past figures like Anura Tennakun or Duleep Mendis, the current individual shows no performance. He is the one who ultimately signs off on the decisions made by the selection committee. This issue keeps resurfacing every 2 years because of the way the system is structured.
මේ තේරෙනවනේ මං ආයි පාරක් කියනවා මේක අවුරුදු දෙකෙන් දෙකට එන එකෙන් තමයි මේක ඉස්මතු වෙන්නේ.
I believe fitness is the number one when it comes to cricket. If you see all the other teams in the world, they have changed their game pattern, they changed their routines and their fitness levels. If you see in the middle, all the 11 players are fit enough to do something for their team. What Murli was mentioning, saying that whoever comes to the board, it can't happen. You know, the cricket won't last, but it can. You know, there are honest people. Says like, you know, honesty is very expensive, but you can't expect it from cheap people. But there are so many good people willing to take this job and do the right thing for Sri Lankan cricket, because Sri Lanka is a tiny island. People love this game. Sometimes after winning the World Cup '96, some people thought it's like religion for them, and people are believing cricket, people are believing players. So this game is belong to the people. So we should do the right thing. If we can do the right thing, like I said earlier, we have so much talent in this country, we can win so many World Cups.
We wonder if those who run Sri Lanka cricket, the top officials at Sri Lanka cricket, can understand what these great Sri Lankan cricketers are talking about. We wonder if they even care. To the Sri Lankan cricket players, we respect you, we love you. We understand that you can't always win matches. We understand that you can't always score a century or get a fifer. But we expect you to understand the gravity of representing Sri Lanka. When you don those colors and step onto that field, you are not playing for your team, you are not playing for yourself. You are playing for over 21 million Sri Lankans. You hold their hopes and their aspirations in your hands. You represent the dignity and honor of our beloved nation. We have no problem in you playing at big leagues that undoubtedly rake in a lot of money, but remember that you are a Sri Lankan first. The fruit of our soil in Sri Lanka brought you to where you are. Cricket is the heart of Sri Lanka. Play cricket for Sri Lanka. Do not play with cricket. To the government in power, you have been given a mandate to decide in the best interest of the country. Once again, there is no point in closing the stable after the horse is bolted. Do not delay any longer. There are decisions that you should take, and you must take them now. Despite what those at the top seats at Sri Lanka cricket would do, if you take the right decision, the people will stand with you. And as Sri Lankans have time and time again proved to the entire world, they will show you that there is nothing greater than the power of the people. As the government of Sri Lanka, it is your responsibility to set this right, and it is imperative that you do it now.
Newsfirst with the people.
The Catholic Church says the investigations into the Easter Sunday terror attacks are now progressing along the correct path, and that some parties appear to be unsettled because the probe is nearing its final conclusions. Reverend Father Cyril Gamini Fernando stated that arrests linked to the investigation should not be politicized.
Now, we all know
that the investigation into the Easter Sunday attacks were completely halted when Gotabaya Rajapaksa became president. We also know that during President Ranil Wickremesinghe's tenure, no CID investigations took place. The investigations that had been stopped were restarted in an orderly manner only after this government came into power. For the past 16 months, these CID investigations had been conducted very independently. We know that the Attorney General granted approval and authorization to restart these investigations. Accordingly, the arrest of Suresh Saleh is one outcome of 16 months of ongoing investigations. We believe there is sufficient evidence for this arrest. As we understand, the purpose of taking him into custody is to further investigate whether he had any involvement in the Easter Sunday attacks. To our understanding, he is only a suspect at this stage. Whether he is guilty or not will be determined through the court process. What the people of this country should do now is observe these investigations carefully, attentively, and with patience, and understand the final outcome when the investigations are completed. We reject and condemn attempts to create wrong interpretations and wrong impressions in society regarding this arrest. No one is above the law. That is what the sovereignty of the law means. Therefore, whether someone was in the military or is a politician or is considered a VIP is irrelevant before the law. If someone has committed an offence, investigating that offence is a fundamental principle of justice. Therefore, there is no need to politicize this. This is an independent investigation carried out by the CID. It is important that the CID is allowed to continue this independently. Attempts to use narrow political motives or stir up nationalism to disrupt these investigations we see as a grave injustice to those who were killed in the attack and those who are permanently affected. Therefore, we request everyone not to interfere with these investigations. These investigations must continue. We believe that in the end, we will receive certain results. Many people have long spoken about political conspiracy behind the attack. Whether such a conspiracy existed or not, who was behind it if it existed, and why this attack was carried out. These are matters we must uncover. If anyone tries to obstruct that, we see it as a serious crime against the victims.
අපි දකින්නේ ඒක මේ වින්දිතයන්ට එරෙහිව කරන මහා අපරාධයක් හැටියට.
වහන්සේ කිව්වා වගේ අවුරුදු 7කුත් ගෙවිලා මේ පෙනෙන්නේ තිය පහුවෙලා හරි ඉෂ්ට වෙනවා කියන කාරණේ.
අපි දකිනවා මේ නැවතිලා තිබිච්ච විමර්ශන.
Yes, we can see that the halted investigations have now resumed and are being conducted systematically. We understand that. Therefore, we believe that if these investigations continue independently in this manner, we will be able to achieve justice and fairness.
මේ යුක්තිය සාධාරණත්වය ඉෂ්ට කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා.
සමහර විපක්ෂයේ කට්ටිය හැමදාමත් මේකට විරෝධය පළ කරා. නමුත් දැන් මේ යුක්තිය ඉල්ලපු සමහර විපක්ෂයේ කට්ටිය දැන් මේකට කියන්න අරන් තියෙනවා මේ මේකට සාධාරණ කී අහපු කට්ටියම මේක මේ නාටකයක් කියලා කියනවා.
විපක්ෂයේ අද ඉන්න අය පහුගිය ජනාධිපතිවරණයේත් ඒ වගේම
When you look at the policy declarations they presented during the last presidential and parliamentary elections, all of them included commitments to deliver justice for the Easter Sunday attacks. I don't know whether the SLPP had it in their policy declaration, but other parties clearly stated it. Now that the process is happening, what they should do is not obstruct it, but support it, so that justice and fairness can be delivered.
Reverend Father Cyril Gamini Fernando said that the investigations related to the Easter attacks have now reached a stage close to final conclusions.
අපි දකිනවා අපි සෑහෙන දුරට සමීපව සිටිනවා කියලා මේකේ අවසන් ප්‍රතිඵලයට.
We can see that we are getting close to the final outcome. That is why some people seem unsettled. We feel some individuals are worried because they fear the results may be difficult for them to accept. There is no need to panic. If someone has committed a crime, that person must be brought before the law. We believe that if these investigations continue independently and impartially in this manner, we will be able to reach the final outcome. If there are people who killed others to gain political power and they are still freely moving about, that is extremely dangerous. That means there is a problem with the security of this country. To protect this country and develop it, it is essential to identify such individuals and bring them before the law.
අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා එවැනි පිරිස් හඳුනාගෙන ඔවුන්ව නීති ඉස්සරහ පිටට ගෙනියන.
Organized crime suspect Janit Madhusankar alias Podilasi, who was arrested in India, is scheduled to be brought back to Sri Lanka tomorrow.
Sri Lanka police say that a team comprising officers from the Criminal Investigation Department set off to India to bring the suspect back to the country. The suspect was previously apprehended by Indian security forces for illegally entering the country. Following the conclusion of legal proceedings in India, authorities have agreed to hand over the suspect to Sri Lankan authorities.
The current government has clearly demonstrated its ability to track down criminals hiding overseas and bring them back to the country. So far, as I am aware, around 29 individuals involved in drug-related crimes who were abroad have been brought back to Sri Lanka. Tomorrow as well, a well-known trafficker is being brought to the country from India. I believe he will arrive tomorrow along with another individual. In addition, our attention has been drawn to whether it is possible to introduce legislation to deny bail to drug traffickers until the conclusion of their full trial proceedings after their arrest. Furthermore, a request has been made to explore whether seized narcotics can be destroyed immediately after they are taken into custody. A special cabinet-appointed committee is currently studying this matter. Under new technological methods, we are examining whether it would be possible to retain only a required sample for production purposes and destroy the remaining seized quantities immediately.
Meanwhile, a special combat police unit established to tackle organised crime in the Colombo North Police Division commenced operations today. The unit functions under the supervision of Senior Superintendent of Police, Eric Pereira. It comprises 60 specially trained armed officers and 30 motorcycles, enabling rapid response across the division. Police say the team is tasked with swiftly pursuing and apprehending suspects immediately after crimes are reported, as part of intensified efforts to curb organised criminal activity in the area.
උතුර කොට්ටාසේ ගහන්න ආවොත් ගහනවා කියන එක තියෙන්න ඕන. ඒක තුවක්කු දීලා තියෙන්නේ පුද්ගලික ආරක්ෂාව විදියට එක්ක ගොල්ලෝ මේක පරිහරණය කරන්න. අපි ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ඕනනම් ඉස්සරහින් ඔයාලට ඕනේ පිටිපස්සෙන් නම් පිටිපස්සෙන් ඕන වෙලාවක අපි ඉන්න ලෑස්ති. සිද්ධියකට අපි එන්න ලෑස්ති. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි නායකයෝ විදියට ඔයාලගේ කරමත ඉන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයාලගේ කරෙන් අපි යපෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඔයාලට පුෂ් එකක් දෙන්න තමයි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. අපි ඔයාලට රැකවරණයක් දෙන්න තමයි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා හරියාකාරව නීතිය සාමයේ ස්ථාපිත මේක යන්න ඕන. ඉතින් මේකේ එහෙම තුවක්කු පත්තු කරන සෙල්ලම් දාන අයට මේකේ පාලනය දෙන්න බෑ. එහෙනම් අපේ නිලධාරීන්ටත් කිව්ව එක අවංකව රාජකාරී කරන්න අපි එක එකට කාටවත් යන්න දෙන්න. මගේ මේ උත්සාහය මේ මහන්සියලා මේ කරන්නේ මේකේ ප්‍රතිඵල මේක භුක්ති විඳගත්තොත් ඒ වයසට තමයි. ඔයාලටම තමයි. අපරාධයක් වෙන්න දුව වලක්ක ගත්තා කියලා කියන්නේ අපිට පහසුයි.
Duminda Disanayake claims that the party leadership of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is held by a team including him and Nimal Siripala de Silva.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ සැබෑ නායකත්වයේ දැන් කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? අතරම නායකත්වයක් තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ.
You are standing right where the leadership exists. Nimal Siripala de Silva serves as the chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. I serve as the general secretary. All other office bearers are in place. We do not wish to speak extensively about this matter. It has already been discussed at length. Many of you were expecting that an injunction would be granted in the recent court case. Was that injunction granted? Our colleague Dayasiri Jayasekara sought an injunction preventing Nimal Siripala de Silva and myself from functioning as chairman and general secretary of the party. Was that injunction granted? It was not. What does that mean? It means the court has made its position clear. There is nothing further to add.
යම් කිසි විදිහේ මේ ජයසිරි මහත්මයා එක්කද මේ තරුණියෝ තරුණ පෙරමුණේ තොර ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයේ බොහෝ පිරිසක් ඉන්න ජයසිරි මහත්මයා එක්ක.
Anyone can have an opinion about it. If you go to sleep tonight and see a dream, you can wake up and talk about how happy it made you. Everyone has the freedom to dream whatever they want and enjoy that thrill. There is no obstacle to that.
People's Struggle Movement executive member Vasantha Muthalige claims corrupt opposition figures are uniting as law tightens on fraud and corruption.
We are still seeing government interference in fraud, corruption and other irregularities, with interventions occurring at various levels. Yet, when former opposition members face allegations, complaints or investigations, they immediately cry, saying it's persecution. In the past, 2 of our brothers disappeared in 2012. When we asked Gotabaya Rajapaksa to appear in court in Jaffna regarding this, he refused and offered to give a statement online instead. We have no hesitation in bringing anyone to court and questioning them over fraud or corruption. If summoned, they must provide a statement. The law allows for correction or if evidence supports conviction. The story here is that the opposition is now dominated by former government ministers. As their past misdeeds gradually come to light, they are setting aside political differences to form a single camp. Leaders including Sajith Premadasa, Nama Rajapaksa, Ranil Wickremesinghe and Dilip Jayawira are all in this same camp. They claim they are being targeted unfairly, yet in the past, when people were disappeared, killed or imprisoned, those same governments remained silent and even celebrated attacks on governance. Now, instead of joining this lie and shouting about revenge, those accused should face the law with courage.
The The Supreme Court today dismissed 2 fundamental rights petitions challenging the state of emergency regulations without taking them up for hearing. The petitions had sought a ruling that the emergency regulations declared by President Anurukumara Dissanayake following Cyclone Ditwa violated fundamental human rights. The petitions filed by attorney Azad Adam Lebe and the Centre for Policy Alternatives challenged the emergency regulations declared by President Anurukumara Dissanayake on the 29th of November 2025. They were considered today by a 3-member Supreme Court bench comprising Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena, Kumuduni Wickramasinghe and Arjuna Obesekara. After hearing arguments from both sides, the bench led by Chief Justice Surasena ruled that the petitions be dismissed without further hearing, stating they did not establish a prima facie case of violation of fundamental human rights.
Energy Mafia. Love's Gas says a vessel carrying 3,500 metric tons of LP gas is scheduled to arrive in the country from the Maldives within the next 36 hours.
Love's Gas says that steps have been taken to clear the incoming vessel by the 28th of February and to commence island-wide distribution from the same night. Due to export restrictions and technical issues at the Hambantota terminal, the company has also made arrangements to directly import LP gas through the Colombo port. Loves further noted that plans are in place to completely resolve the current market shortage by March.
What is the situation with Litro Gas?
Litro Gas said that 3,900 metric tons of LP gas brought in by a vessel yesterday is being distributed island-wide today. Chairman Channagunawardena stated that approximately 150,000 gas cylinders are being released to the market daily during this period. He added that Litro has taken steps to supply LP gas to tourist hotels and industries affected by the Love's gas shortage while continuing to meet domestic demand without interruption. The chairman added that another LP gas shipment is scheduled to arrive in the country tomorrow.
The Gaurava Abhinandana Felicitation ceremony organised to honour the Chief Sanganayaka of the Sabaragamu province, Most Venerable Kaligama Vichitananda Thera, was held at the Ratnapura District Secretariat Auditorium. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya was in attendance as the chief guest.
Most Venerable Kaligama Vichitananda Thera was escorted to the venue in a colourful cultural procession. The event was graced by the Mahasangha, led by the Most Venerable Dr. Niyangoda Vijitasiri Anunayaka Thera, the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect. A special commemorative chest was presented to the Most Venerable Kaligama Vijitananda Thera by Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya with the participation of the Governor of the Sabaragamu province, Champa Janaki.
When looking at the life story of the Most Venerable Thera, his experiences serve as a profound example to us all. Ordained as a pupil of the late Most Venerable Kalle Sri Sarananda Thera, a luminary of Sabaragamu, our Most Venerable Thera has now dedicated over 50 years to the Buddha Sasana since his higher ordination. I wish to recall that Venerable Thera's service is prominent across several fields. Especially for students in Pirivan education, the classical literary works authored by him are of immense value. Having been conferred the title of Rajakiya Pandita, Anayaka Thera's service to the Malwatu chapter and the entire Buddha Sasana of Sri Lanka as the chief prelate of the Sabaragamu province is vast. I consider this felicitation ceremony the highest honour we can bestow upon such a disciplined and scholarly monk.
The Colombo High Court has scheduled a case against former Minister of Women and Child Affairs and Dry Zone Development Chandrani Bandara to be reconvened on the 5th of March. Today's hearing was called before High Court Judge Ravindra Premaratna.
During the hearing, President's Counsel Nalin Ladduwahetty, representing the petitioner, raised preliminary objections regarding the amendment to the indictment. After considering the points, the bench scheduled the case to be reconvened on the 5th of March. The charges against former Minister of Women and Child Affairs and Dry Zone Development, Chandrani Bandara, relate to allegations of corruption. It is claimed that while serving as minister, she failed to follow proper procedures and influenced officials to appoint H.M. Chandravansa to the position of Project Director at the Ministry of Dry Zone Development, as well as to assign several of her associates to other positions in ways that were not legally compliant. The case was filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption at the Colombo High Court on the 20th of May 2025. Following these allegations, the offences are said to have committed between the 14th of January and the 31st of January in 2019 and fall under the Bribery Act, which prescribes penalties for such misconduct.
A reception to mark the 66th birthday of His Majesty the Emperor of Japan and the National Day of Japan was held in Colombo. Speaking at the event, Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Akio Izumata, revealed that the remarkable story of Sri Lankan runner Ranatunga J.K. Karunananda, the athlete who finished last but ran with unforgettable determination at the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, continues to be taught in Japan.
A reception to mark the 66th birthday of His Majesty the Emperor of Japan and the National Day of Japan was held in Colombo yesterday.
3 days ago, the Milan Cortina Winter Olympic Games came to a close. Japan earned a total of 24 medals, including 5 gold medals. Good job to the Japanese athletes, and congratulations to all the medalists and participants from around the world. Sri Lanka didn't send athletes there, as it has never done so, to Winter Olympic Games. So to talk about the Olympic Games and Sri Lanka, I want to take you back to the Tokyo Summer Olympics, not to the recent one, 5 years ago, but to the one further back in 1964. Please bear with me for the following episode of the runner wearing number 67. It was the 5th day of the Tokyo Olympics of 1964. The men's 10,000 meter run was the highlight of the day. About 70,000 people were in the National Stadium. 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The spectators were quiet. Their eyes were focused on the 38 runners at the starting line. Then the starting pistol sounded and the race began. It is one of the longest and toughest races in sports. For the race, after 10 laps or so, some runners had to give up and dropped out. Everyone thought the race was over. However, that runner didn't stop. He just continued, all alone. Some people laughed and shouted, "Hey, he's a lap behind." But he kept on running. After crossing the finishing line again, he's running. Is he 2 laps behind? The spectators were puzzled. There were even jeers and sneers. Who's that runner? People wondered. They looked at the program, number 67 from Ceylon. His name is Karunananda. As Karunananda continued to run, everyone's eyes began to focus on him. Then suddenly he started to speed up. It was his last lap. Actually, he was 3 laps behind. Now nobody was laughing. Instead, words of encouragement were heard. "Keep going, Ceylon. Hang in there." The spectators now understood what was happening. He just wanted to run to the end. Soon, everyone was cheering him on. Some were watching with tears in their eyes. When at last Karunananda crossed the finishing line, he got a huge cheer from the audience. After the race, Karunananda explained his side of the story. I had a bad cold this week, but I was chosen to run for my country. So my only goal was to run the whole race. That's what I did. And I'm happy with that. And then he added, I have a little daughter back in my country. When she grows up, I will tell her, your father didn't win that race, but he never gave up. Karunananda became a hero and showed the true spirit of the Olympics. The most important thing is not to win, but to take part. The headlines of the local newspapers next day went like, he ran the last 3 laps all by himself. Congrats to the winner and glory to the last runner. This story of Karunananda was widely adopted in the Japanese elementary school textbooks in the 1970s, when the title, The Runner Wearing Number 67, to nurture the spirit of never giving up among children. And most recently, a textbook publisher in Japan started to use the story. Again, this time for Japanese high school textbook as an English language learning material. Karunananda keeps running in Japan. And today, I am honored to have Karunananda's son and grandson here at this reception. They are there. Let's give them a big hand.
The event was held at the official residence of the Japanese ambassador, bringing together prominent political figures, diplomats, business leaders and distinguished guests.
AmCham Sri Lanka hosted its CEO Forum in Colombo yesterday.
The CEO Forum 2026, organized by the American Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka, was held in Colombo yesterday. Under the theme, Accelerating Sri Lanka's Rebuild, the summit shifted the national conversation from mere economic stabilization to a high-speed strategy for long-term growth and resilience. An exceptional lineup of global and national leaders shared insights on Sri Lanka's economic recovery, reform and future growth at the forum. Delivering the keynote address charged the affairs of the U.S. Embassy in Sri Lanka, Jane Howell reflected on how the United States is sharpening its approach to foreign assistance with partners.
American foreign policy today is grounded in a simple principle. It must make the United States safer, stronger, and more prosperous. Stability is the foundation for markets to function and for capital to move. The Sri Lankan government's efforts to strengthen the investment climate is critical to private capital, including American capital, can expand with confidence. You know the challenges: unpredictable regulations, bureaucratic barriers, inconsistent standards, and opaque procurement. American companies bring world-class tech, innovation, and transparency. They create high-quality jobs and integrate markets into resilient global supply chains. But American investment is disciplined. It flows where contracts are honored, regulations are predictable, and procurement is transparent. Where those conditions exist, opportunity follows. The Port of Colombo is a powerful example of how our economic interests converge. As South Asia's leading container transshipment hub, expansion plans will double capacity to 15 million containers by 2027. A stronger Port of Colombo means faster, more reliable supply chains for American manufacturers and consumers. It also reinforces Sri Lanka's role as a trusted, high-standard logistics hub at the center of the Indo-Pacific, a role that benefits the entire region.
Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, stressed on the position of the government in creating an attractive economy for businesses.
From the government's perspective, the way how we look at Sri Lanka is to leverage on the unique value proposition that we have as a nation. What are our points of differentiation that we can go to the world when it comes to either engagements for investments, businesses, and many other factors. So over a period of time, multiple angles were looked at as to what are those points of differentiation. But as of now, governance is one of those items that we have chosen to champion and tell the world things could be different in Sri Lanka in terms of getting your businesses operated, facilitated, the way how entire governance framework is getting improved, uplifted, the approaches and channels to resolve when there is a challenge. When a business is trying to invest in a nation, there are multiple countries within the region. For them to pick and choose, stability is a critical factor. Prevalence of rule of law is an important factor. The zero tolerance for corruption approach the government is adopting is another angle. So the government is very mindful. The state mechanism is paying attention to see through governance, through financial discipline, upholding the rule of law, zero tolerance for corruption. How can we support businesses to reduce the risk premium so Sri Lanka will be a conducive environment for businesses to relook at, investors to relook at, FDIs to flow into the country. So our ambition is to continue to build on those strengths that we have.
Lanka Pay announced the 8th edition of Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2026 in Colombo yesterday. Sri Lanka's national payment network, Lanka Pay, announced the 8th edition of its flagship event, Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2026, yesterday. The grand finale and award ceremony will be held on the 24th of March 2026.
We have the data points. And if the whole purpose was to drive adoption of digital, no point actually introducing all this digital if nobody is using. So we wanted to measure and make it a success. And people who have contributed to drive, we wanted to recognize so that they get motivated to drive more, which was the whole purpose of that. And that was basically number driven, performance driven, and not only that, not just the numbers, once they get shortlisted, they have to come and present to the independent panel of judges how they achieved that, what they have done to achieve that, and also what are their future plans. So it's a sort of a combination of a performance-based rewarding scheme, if you will, to make sure that we reward the right people and motivate the right people to do so.
Recognized as Sri Lanka's first and only awards competition dedicated to payment technology innovation, Lanka Pay Technovation Awards continue to attract strong industry and public engagement, including the online poll for the most popular digital payment solution of the year 2025.
From detecting hidden dangers to standing guard in critical operations, the number 48 K9 wing of the Sri Lankan Air Force has been quietly safeguarding the nation for over 4 decades. Today we take a closer look at the remarkable air dogs of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Sky Warriors.
So talking about them, they're trained to sense what humans cannot. They're well disciplined, very skillful in a way that every step they take can help to save the lives of the people. Every signal they give can change the whole outcome of the mission. So this is their story, the story of the number 48 K9 win of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
The number 48 K9 win of the Sri Lanka Air Force, first established on the 16th of June 1978 with a single vital mission to strengthen the aviation security across the nation. On the 11th of February 2013, the unit was reorganized as the Air Dogs Unit, ushering in a new era of operational excellence. By 2025, it was renamed as the number 48 K9 win of the Sri Lanka Air Force. Today, these highly trained dogs are the silent warriors of Sri Lanka's airports. Their sensors detect explosives, uncover narcotics, assist in criminal identification, and support critical security operations. And when given the command to attack, this is how they respond. Each dog undergoes rigorous advanced training to perform at the highest standards. Brought from England, the Netherlands, Germany and many more countries, they bring unique skills, discipline and instincts, ensuring that no threat goes unnoticed. For over 4 decades, the number 48 Canine Win has served the nation with unwavering dedication, a partnership of courage, loyalty and unmatched skill, protecting the people of Sri Lanka.
In international news, Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak of Russia has said his government is discussing the possibility of providing fuel to Cuba as the United States continues to restrict oil resources going to the island nation.
Until recently, Russia has been among the top suppliers of oil to Cuba, along with countries like Mexico and Venezuela. But Cuba's fuel supply was disrupted last month in the wake of a US attack on Venezuela. On the 3rd of January, the US launched a military operation to abduct Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Shortly thereafter, US President Donald Trump announced he would cut off Cuba's supply of Venezuelan oil and money. Then, on the 29th of January, he issued an executive order threatening sanctions against any country that provides oil shipments to Cuba. Countries like Mexico and Russia have been trying to negotiate the fuel blockade as the United Nations warns of the potential for a humanitarian collapse on the island. Last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin slammed Trump's executive order as unacceptable while meeting with Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez in Moscow. Prior to the fuel blockade, Cuba's economy already struggled under a decades-long US embargo, stretching back to its alliance with the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The fuel blockade is poised to heighten tensions on the island. Its electricity grid, for instance, relies primarily on fossil fuels. But Cuba produces only about 40% of its required fuel, making it heavily dependent on foreign shipments. The Trump administration has signaled it would like to see Cuba's communist government collapse. On Wednesday, Canada became the latest country in the region to pledge food aid to Cuba, worth $8 million Canadian. A second humanitarian aid deployment from Mexico also arrived in Cuba on Wednesday. The 2 Mexican Navy vessels had departed the port of Veracruz on Tuesday, carrying 1,193 tons of supplies, according to the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Earlier this month, Mexico dispatched more than 814 tons of food and hygiene products as part of an initial shipment to Cuba.
And with that, we wrap up Prime Time News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.